Album Concept Hour. The Album Concept Hour. It's the Album Concept Hour.
Welcome, everybody, to the Album Concept Hour podcast. I am your host, Brad the Baron. As always, I am here in the studio with Dave. I am here in the studio with Jake the Snake Foster. And we have a very special guest for a very special album. This is someone that we connected on the interwebs, and I was instantly smitten with his new album. This is James Utterback. And he is the mastermind behind Fire Whale. And his album is The Fiery Surf that just came out in, March?
Yeah, March 25th.
March 25th, Dave's birthday.
Dave's birthday.
And
Best birthday present.
Good birthday present, yeah. And so welcome to the podcast, James.
Yeah, awesome. It's super cool to be here with some like-minded people who are here for the concept albums.
Yeah. You were telling me you are someone that appreciates an album start to finish, so that box was immediately checked.
Yeah.
And this album is reflective of that too. The one that you did. Mm-hmm. So I'm really, really stoked to have you on. I immediately when the album started playing that you sent to me, I was like, this is good. And then the horns hit, and I was like, oh, this is real good. I was immediately showing different people in the Discord and in the chat and stuff, like, hey, what do you think of this? Is this is it good as I think it is? But,
that's awesome. I'm super glad to connect with somebody who's into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing about we found about some of these big conceptual albums is sometimes they fly under the radar and we discover them later. But I hope this one doesn't do that. I hope it goes
we'll see.
Above the radar. This one it's a very, very well composed album, especially for your first. And I was reading that on your website that it took about 12 years to craft this one.
That's right.
So you want to take me through that journey a little bit? Did you start a complete novice and then get into an expert at recording software and stuff, or did you kind of have some stuff going on before the 12 years?
Yeah, so I learned everything about production on the journey, and I still feel quite a bit novice. But it took quite a while to learn how to do everything. And it took me a long time, especially to figure out how to connect with other musicians, because I knew I wanted some other instruments like the horns that you mentioned and a few other things.
Okay.
And I didn't really know how to do that. I didn't really know how to get in contact with the studio and find a person to actually do the part and then coordinate studio time and all that. So it took me a while, basically until the pandemic, when everybody started doing remote musician sessions. So you can connect with anybody.
The floodgates probably opened up.
Yeah, that's really what the final key was. I have, for example, files that I started 12 years ago and just wrote over and over and over as I was working on a song with new parts. And I didn't know anything at first. I didn't have an audio interface. If anybody's a musician, they know that this is a big no-no. So I would just record directly into the laptop. Was I don't know any better. But eventually, learn these things, get new equipment, and then overwrite the same file. Have a GarageBand file from my old black MacBook that I eventually turned into the same file became the final file.
Yeah, it's a really you kind of. I've gone through a similar journey with the podcasting stuff. You reach the limit of the current system you're on, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta upgrade if I'm gonna continue growing in this craft. So you just keep on there's never seems to be a limit to how much stuff you can get to make it better and how many skills you can learn. Production is just kind of an endless river of things that you can get into. So
and eventually you just have to make the call that it's done. But obviously
Yeah,
I'm not the best at that.
Yeah. I have to. For me, it's the opposite because we have one a week, so like it's like well,
it's good. You got to have deadlines.
Sounds good enough. Let's do it. But
deadlines, Brad.
But
deadlines.
The budget
deadlines.
The budget's never done. Like you can't stop spending money. Like on. There's always a better thing.
Yeah.
You can always throw your money in a hole.
Yeah. I mean, I still need a couple.
Do I
more
need
of
that?
These $400 mics. I still need like 3 of them, and I won't be satisfied until I have them.
Right. And then there'll be another thing, and that's just how it works.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Underneath.
I'm not even starting to do the music stuff, which is like what I want to jump to next. But that's like a whole new horizon of things.
Yeah. But underneath the hood, my album's pretty lo-fi. It's
okay.
I've only ever used 2 mics. That are they're decent mics, but
okay.
I never got to the point of really optimizing. I didn't really have the option. I wasn't able to dish
what
out.
What kind of mics, if you don't mind me asking?
One's a dynamic mic. That's a Shure mic. It's like a pretty classic mic that people have on stage, which is great for vocals, and I've used sometimes for acoustic guitars. And I have a condenser that's like a cardioid condenser mic that's more sensitive and much better for acoustics and various other acoustic instruments.
Well, then bravo for the sound then, because that's that means that potentially that I could do something similar with what I have, but
definitely.
I don't know how. But I
know we're both fans of King Gizzard. They've
right.
changed my mind about all this stuff because most of their drums are recorded with 2 mics. I learned that very recently, that they just have a kick, a mic on the kick, and then a single
serious?
overhead, like close to the snare. I don't think they do this for every single album, but they've done this a lot, I guess.
That's insane.
Like one mic that's like, close to the snare, but picks up the snare, the toms, but I mean, they have 2 drummers, so it is different.
Well, they had 2 drummers. Now they just have 1.
Right. They still do double takes for some songs, but
yeah. I never realized that, but that's interesting. Like it's always like it's always surprising like how much you can do with like a small amount of equipment, as long as you have the know-how to use it correctly,
Yeah, and you have to embrace whatever it sounds like. Just commit to it.
Yeah.
And tenacious.
Go with some of the maybe mistakes, turn them into not mistakes. I was gonna say, for the other musicians, did you have the parts for them in place kind of before you contacted them, or did you have them kind of noodle over what you had?
Mostly the former. I had a pretty clear idea of what I wanted for every bit of the album. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And I mean, some of the songs like, so tracks 5 through 8 were originally one song that was 13 minutes long. And that song took me 5 years to write because I felt like I had something very important to say. And I felt like it needed to be bigger in sound. And it took me a long time to pull it off and to like actually do the vocals. And I always knew that there was going to be, like in my head, I'd always hear this choir at one part of the climax. And I basically, would give them the melody and ask them to, embellish and whatever. But for the most part, it was pre-written. And the horns were actually originally on track 3, were originally vocal, a bunch of layered vocals.
Okay.
And so it just wasn't really cutting it. And I always liked the idea of having some horns in either that song or track 4. I hadn't decided, but I found a guy online who was just absolutely incredible, Mike Crane in the UK.
Killed it.
Yeah, absolutely. He replaced the vocals with a bunch of different horns, just like this guy does all the horns. And but then his soloing was all him, and that honestly really makes it.
Yeah. I mean, that is definitely a very like memorable part of the album, and I'm always a fan of when like just other elements come into rock music, whether it be horns or flute or harmonica. Like flute and harmonica, King Gizzard do a lot of. Yeah, I'm a big fan of just using every like tool at your disposal to make just what you want to what you want to hear.
Yeah, you add a lot of texture. Make a more unique sound that way.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tools these days. There's more tools than ever to actually, get the sound that you want. I'm always just blown away by some of the amazing like indie stuff that I hear.
Music. It's really a different era. Music is really in the hands of anybody now, and I think that was also a big thing for me. Is like I didn't really believe at first that I could just make an album with my home equipment. I always thought I would have to go into a studio at least eventually. Yeah. But now basically anybody can afford a mic that is good enough to make an album with. And editing software has become really like even GarageBand, which is, like $5 if you have a Mac, is awesome now. Obviously it's very limited compared to like Logic and Pro Tools and all, but it used to be kind of crap. And now it's like you can really take it. If you push it to its limits, it can really go a long ways with it. Yeah.
There's a lot of options available.
So that's to say, I don't think my next album will take 12 years.
Oh yeah, that was one of my questions too. Was you had another one you're working on?
Yeah. So I actually, you were asking what I did before. Yeah. I have all the music for an album that I wrote before this album, but I didn't really feel ready to turn it into an album for kind of the reasons we're talking about. I didn't really know what to do with it. So I wanted to work on something in the meantime to be kind of my first thing, because I was holding this first album kind of sacred
anxiety,
and by the time by the time I finished The Fiery Surf, it obviously became its own thing, and it took me a long time, and it's much better than I originally imagined it would be. But I do have something that was written before this that will come next.
Nice.
You were also really busy during this time though too. So you're a doctor.
That's right.
Is that correct?
I missed that. But I'm not that kind of doctor.
On my research.
I have a PhD in chemistry.
Yeah. Which means you can technically use the doctor thing.
Technically.
Yeah.
But
But
I might be responsible for things I don't want to be responsible for.
I'm looking at your LinkedIn and I'm like, wow.
Different person.
These are a bunch of words that I have lots of questions about.
I never look at the guest's LinkedIn. You know what I mean? Like that's a bit of research.
Well, I was gonna say, Brad, is this our first doctor on the album concept hour? Or PhD? Any kind of doctor of
I was gonna say we have had professors on the podcast as well, so I mean, they
must be.
We get some collegiates that walk through our halls every now and again at the album concept hour.
I just think about spies like us with the doctor.
Oh, doctor. Do you concur?
Doctor.
Do you concur? That's from.
Very, very. So this was your like project outside of school.
Yeah, that's probably another reason why it took a long time is, I've been in, so I'm a scientist, and that's my full-time job, and music is a passion project. That's a very cool
statement to be able to say. I'm a scientist.
And so when I was in undergrad, I was working super hard in school, and I went to grad school. A lot of this was... So this album basically started I can tell you the story as we go through the album.
That's true.
Started in undergrad, went through grad school. Yeah. I spent some time in India for 2 years before that teaching chemistry and physics. And
nice.
That's where I learned a lot about Indian music and kind of incorporated bits of that into the album. And then now I'm what's called a postdoc. So it's postdoctorate. It's what you do after you get your PhD, but before you become a professor. And I'm doing research in physics and chemistry.
Okay.
Very much full time. Yeah, it's
very
a busy life.
Cool. Yeah. And then you put out this album in the meantime. So by the time you're a professor, like you'll have some really cool shit to share with your students.
I don't know. I'll have to figure out if I should or not.
Well, I guess that's a question you always got to ask yourself when you're. I'm
this is not the same at all, but I'm a middle school like teacher.
Okay, nice.
And so I am very leery about telling my students because
that is it's
pretty soon they'll all be that coming through all the podcasts and being like, what did Mr. Mr. Foster say?
Yeah.
They'll come like 4 years later. They're gonna be like in high school or whatever. They'll be like, I wonder what that was like.
Man.
You know,
just like the Offspring said, gotta keep them separated. You can't.
then they get to John's iguana story or whatever from last episode. You'll have to listen if you want to know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But every now and again, it gets a little adults in here.
It's a heavy 90-degree turn, like.
Yeah. But the album we were covering was morbid stuff, so we ended up leaving it in as enough of a vague plug for the last episode. But we have
Kids
there's
don't
12
listen to that.
That kids do not listen to the last episode. But we have 12 tracks on this album, The Fiery Surf. And I was gonna just go into the first track if you guys are all down.
I'm down.
So we're starting with the sounds of the giant. And let me get there. It is. Yeah. That's the opening track. It's instrumental too.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've always really loved instrumental bands like Godspeed You Black Emperor and Explosions in the Sky. And
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I thought it was a bold move to put the instrumental as the first track, and it works. You know,
I debated it for a while, but I wanted to start out with something
good choice.
Yeah.
Something that like had character and meaning to me, because this album, the song is in a weird time signature. It's in like 23/8, as well as 7/8.
Yeah, it does kind of make your brain kind of get confused a little bit when you're hearing it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
and it's it's post rock and kind of a bit unusual in many other in the instrumentation too. Yeah, so I wanted to start out with something that was had some character and was unique. And went for it.
Yeah. Would you say that any of your stuff is post-hardcore? Because I know that's not a term people use much anymore, but like,
I've never used that term.
It for 12 years, it made me think back to, wait a minute, were you listening to some post-hardcore stuff?
I've never been good at identifying genres.
Okay, that's fair.
This is something I've started to do
them.
very recently. Like when people ask me about the album, I'm like, I can listen to the bands that are influences easier that I can identify the genre.
I'm pretty bad when it comes to down genres and post.
Around the MySpace days, it just got out of hand. Like everyone just started making up like just endless genre names, and it just got really, really out of hand.
Well,
their legacy lives on.
Yeah.
You just gotta check out my page. I got some good songs on there.
Oh yeah. What's the genre though, Dave?
I don't know.
And then you list like 16 genres. That's the other thing is Genius pages, also, sometimes you get like 5 to 10 different genres listed for a band. So, I think it's kind of just interweaves at this point. Like, you can have up to as many kind of descriptors as you want, honestly.
Because music is becoming more and more of a fusion of different things. And
it's time to
it's like a branching tree.
Much stuff together.
Yeah. Speaking of which, one of the influences that's really front and center here is the kind of surf rock influence, I think.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Was that did you like listen to like classic surf rock groups and get into it, or was it something that you were like, I think this needs surf rock?
I definitely grew up listening to surf rock. My dad introduced me to Dick Dale and took me to a Dick Dale concert when I was, I don't know, 10 or so.
Yeah.
And I have a very distinct memory of, so he had a cordless guitar. It's like a remote cable kind of thing. He like walked out into stage and like came up right up to us and was playing his like super fast licks right in front of us. And that definitely made an impression. And I always thought it was just cool. And so, I listened to Dick Dale and many other surf rock bands from those days. And
Ventures.
Yeah. Ventures are another one. Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing that we've kind of learned throughout this podcast is like surf rock really is like the godfather of like rock after that time. Like there's so many different
that's a good point.
Like I've found, just going back through like the family tree of rock or whatever that like go back to some surf rocky motherfucker, you know what I mean? And it's just it's so weird how much that influence comes up.
And groups wanted to be part of the surf rock. Like we did that Freddie King album that that he wanted to make it into a surf album or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They really took tracks off that and made it into a surf album.
Yeah, it really dominated for a little bit there. That just whole genre and just lifestyle
it got huge in India too.
Whatever.
Bollywood, like they love like surf rock over there for like years.
For where?
Surf rock is really from
India,
like
really?
Southern. And you said in
India?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In
but
Bollywood, all the old films, like that was a thing. They use a lot of surf rock.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, there's some really cool like 70s rock made in India.
Yeah.
That's true. There's a lot of crossover happening then.
A bit of it is pretty obscure, but if you find it, there's some really cool stuff.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I spent 10 days in India in college for like, it was, you had to do something academic, but it was really just an excuse for college kids to go to India for 10 days. The music was definitely something that stuck with me coming back.
So cool.
Like, well, and it's so tied into their worship and spirituality and things. And I always think of that every time music kind of gets a little bit into that kind of feeling where it's, you kind of get, you could be meditating to it or something,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Which is a lot of what I look for in music is something that kind of alters your state of mind.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's like after going to India, it kind of made me rethink music's like purpose, kind of. Because it's like this stuff's been around forever and been influencing people in a completely different way. The music influences me back in the States, listening to like rock and roll music and stuff, it just kind of reminded me that like music is just a very old and important form of expression and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So this song I wrote before I went to India, but I kind of finished it afterwards, and so the tabla that's on it was a later addition.
Okay, and
there's some tabla right in the beginning.
Yeah. What kind of instrument is that? Is that a stringed or?
No, tabla is the two hand drums. Like you sit down and you have the two separate drums, and they just sound so cool. The bass has this kind of boom sound, and the tabla just has this really unique treble sound. And I used it. It's kind of scattered throughout the album, but I brought a set home from India.
Yeah. Oh man, that's really cool. I just brought home a hookah that didn't work.
Classic.
The down stem was just a stick with a drilled in the top and bottom, and it was just decorational, I think is what I found out.
Right.
But this song definitely, especially with some of the kind of instrumentation, of course, you just mentioned, and everything, I definitely brought that up in my mind because you just mentioned that.
I would say that the bridge that's in 7 and goes to a more minor sound, that influence is more rooted in Middle Eastern music. My uncle introduced me to Middle Eastern music. He lived in Morocco for some time, and he had these like vinyl that he would send to me in the form of CDs that he would basically take the vinyl, record it while it was playing through a speaker, onto tape or something, and somehow converted that to CD, which is amazing. And so I had this CD of this like Middle Eastern rock.
Was it really like grainy by the time it got to you? Like...
It sounded super cool. Just a couple years ago found the album is actually on Spotify. I just never thought to look for it. And I don't like the sound as much. It doesn't have nearly as much character.
Oh, okay. It doesn't have that
I'm so
rich
used to the
vinyl
when
to
did
tape
he do that?
to CD transfer.
This was like the early 2000s or something.
Wow.
Man.
My future
effort.
father-in-law, he does this now. Like, he doesn't have any music service. He'll take albums and then record it and then put it on. I gave him an old iPod, but like, I don't know when that. I didn't know that technology existed back then.
I mean, I think if there's a will, there's a way back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I remember having like the 2 tape decks and you can like transfer from one to the other.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know how he...
In 2002,
Magic
I had
then.
a Harman Kardon system that basically it was a dual CD burner, but you can plug anything into it. You can plug in like a record player, tape deck. I was messing around with it. I plugged in my NES and was recording stuff onto it. I thought it was just hilarious as hell.
Wow.
So I was playing around with some weird shit. I was making some mixed CDs for some friends.
Oh man,
well,
that's
thanks,
a nice device. That's
awesome.
a cool device to have around.
Now we know.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I love learning any little bit about how recording has changed and everything. It's always fucking fascinating. Because we live in the golden age of any form of recording, visual or audio. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everything's pretty easy now.
Yeah. We have cameras that have more definition than we can see with our eyes. You know what I mean? We've like crossed a weird threshold. But speaking of crossing a threshold, we have another track to get to where our let's say our hero of the story is. I guess introduced because the first one, the Sounds of the Giants is, it's an instrumental intro thing, and then we have Breathe Smoke. Here's Breathe Smoke. So what's your sorry, just listening to that track, what's your main instrument for this? Like I guess which instruments are you and which are like others, I guess?
It's all me, and it's
okay.
But electric guitar is the lead thing here. This one was really meant to be like surf rock, alternative rock.
Oh, absolutely. So. Yeah. This one definitely like just yeah. And of course, the surf rock thing, I think, especially for this album, hits even better because it's, thematically appropriate as well. I mean, if you want to get a really good kind of outline of this song and like what it means, there's a great music video for this one that's drawn. Who's that drawn by the way?
Her name is Natalia Jondurko, and I met her just on Instagram. She's an artist in Poland, and basically exclusively makes music videos, and she's totally awesome.
Wow! So she does she have like a YouTube channel with like just a bunch of music videos?
So the music videos typically go on the sites of the artist. But,
so she's like makes it for like
commission
hire.
Based. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
She has a website and all that's it's all in Polish, but she's also on Facebook and on Instagram.
It's really good. Yeah.
Her style, I found. It was really by chance. I found her, and her art style I thought was super cool and perfect.
Especially for what you're doing. Yeah. Did the follow-up question would be did the music video come before the cover or vice versa?
They were made together
at the same time. You asked her for both.
Right.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. Good planning. Good planning on your part. But yeah, I saw the music video. I'm like, wait a minute, that's like the cover art. Yeah. I was that meme for a second. I got a lot of the same things, like reading the lyrics, like as watching the video. I think does a really good job of capturing the story that you're kind of putting forth in the first track with lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
I love the lost at sea kind of motifs in general that comes up sometimes, and always a good area to play with.
Yeah, I was reading Moby Dick at the time, and going through a breakup, and
okay,
that plus being into surf rock, ended up being a synthesis of those three things.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. Because okay, I got to ask something about the themes of the album, though.
Yeah, go for it.
So, our hero, the character, is adrift at sea, and he's looking for the source, right? And then, what I was thinking is the ship gets wrecked, it's burning, and then he ends like floating in the ocean, and then sinking. Now, the next thing that my brain went to is like, so does this guy become like a fire whale? Does he become the fire whale, or does I don't know. But later I ended up questioning that a little bit, though. But I was like, so is he like becoming one with the surf?
I would say you got it.
All right.
I would say that the whole event kind of leads to that dark and smoldering state that we hear in the next songs.
Yeah. It really gives you, a good visual, though. The second track is like, you can kind of see him kind of going out to sea, investigating this, and then just,
this tiny ship was tossed.
Yep. and I'm guessing a lantern fell over and burned everything.
Yeah. And the end of the music video is consistent with what you're saying too. How he's on this island in the end, and it's kind of a surreal. You're not sure if it's like real life or a dream or what.
Yeah.
And the fire whale, you see like a kind of blurry image of the fire whale approaching, and they connect. And then, at the same time, the final lyrics are, "So I go to the depths alone to sink like a stone."
Mm-hmm.
And the story doesn't finish there.
Jonah stuff, maybe, I don't know. Every time I think of a whale, I immediately think of Jonah because I'm a pastor's kid. But it's definitely like you're invoking the right imagery for the content that you're doing. You know what I mean? This speaking of the awesome content, we're gonna get to track 3. Where you have the killer horns section thing that you mentioned previously. So this is a little bit of Sinking Ember. That's you can hear a little bit of the transition to the next one.
Yeah. So this was so track 2 through 4, Breathe Smoke, and then this is now Sinking Ember, and then From a Fiery Surf were really all made at the same time.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of in that
was
order.
Another yes. Yep.
They were sort of developed in that order, but really they were finished together. And so originally they're all kind of different movements of the same song.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which I think is like I think Dave was saying before the recording, some of it was like because of that almost was like was that Pink Floyd song parts 1 through
Shine On You Crazy Diver.
Shine On You Crazy,
No, it's part 2.
Yeah. It was like it was similar to that, but broken up, as opposed to like one like what was it 20-minute chunk or something? 15. I don't know. It's a long chunk.
How many? crazy.
That album has very few tracks for how long it is.
5 tracks, but divided in a weird sense.
Yeah.
I consider that having basically like 6 tracks for this album versus 12.
Yeah,
that was a tough call, but it could have gone either way.
It's a hard call because I think for like for our podcast purposes, especially having multiple tracks is better for us because we had a whole thing with Sleep's Jerusalem / Holy Mountain. One version is 1 track and the other version is it split up into many tracks.
Right.
And we went with the one split up into many tracks. However, I have decided, I'm announcing this right now, I have decided that we are going to cover
the 1 track.
The one that is 1 track and just make a bunch of clips. Copyright
not just
people
1 clip.
can come after me if they want, but I'm kind of seeing lately that copyright doesn't seem to care about podcasters. Like, there's no one's whose job is to like check all the podcasts.
There's probably one guy, but like, there's so many podcasts you got to check on.
Yeah. Like, they're all just flippantly using like as many seconds of whatever music that they want, and I've never heard of anyone having repercussions. So I don't think they're going to start. I don't think they're going to start with an indie podcast, but hopefully not. Hopefully, I'm not talking directly to the person that has the ability to change that, and they're going to. As of right now, though, there's a lot of podcasts that are just flippantly just not caring about the whole 15-second rule. So who knows what the truth is? If you're a copyright lawyer, hit us up at
just keep pushing it.
1608 hit nerd.
You're welcome to play as much of my songs as you want.
Oh, thank you.
Anytime.
Thank you. Yeah. I did pick a slightly longer because usually when we have a guest on themselves, we try to beef it up a little bit.
Oh, nice.
But if you're the guy
not
out
coming
there,
after us.
if you're the guy out there like with the stopwatch, like just let it slide, man. It's all good.
Just go to hell.
We're not making any money off of this. That's the thing with some of this creative stuff is you're not doing it for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Speaking of, I was thinking before we get into another track though, I was wondering, do you perform live ever, or do you have like a band that you're going to try to?
I haven't since high school, and the reason is because I have a career, right? As a scientist,
You seem very busy already.
Yeah, I felt like I had to choose one, and I like performing live. It's an incredible thing to do. Because the reason I want to make music is because I want to bring people into an immersive environment. And so you can do a lot with a live show. You can have the lights, the visuals, the whole environment adds to the moment. Yeah. But I guess what has touched me the most about music are recordings. Listening to Radiohead's Kid A, in my room with the lights low with my friends, and Pink Floyd recordings, obviously never seen them live, and various recordings like that have been in Sgt. Pepper's, things like that. Those have been such a central part of my life that I think I have focused more on recreating something along those lines.
Which is that's a direction that a lot of musicians go, where it's more about the studio stuff than the tour stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. Some bands are more about the tour stuff than anything. You know what I mean? But that being said, I would, if you ever did do it, I would absolutely come out to see you guys.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Because
I don't have a band together. It's all just me. But that's also, I wasn't really sure how to do that before. But now I think it's becoming more common that people do this. I mean, Tame Impala is a huge influence on a generation because he did it all himself. He recorded everything himself, but does the live shows too, and has his friends and the people that
can play
with him. So
that's kind of how it kind of used to be a little bit with music in maybe the 50s and 60s.
That's true.
Before,
be so much production in the back end.
And you got maybe different cities. You had different bands.
There'd be like a road band that would go.
Yeah, or a road band. Yeah, exactly. So
Otis Redding had like the Stax musicians just played with him on his tours. Like it wasn't a band, but he needed a band to play live.
Yeah, and then for the longest time, it's been you're expected to have a core group of usually dudes, and you tour around and stuff. But I think it's like you said, it's kind of changing.
Yeah, maybe it's going back to what it was more before.
Yeah,
but in a different way.
Yeah.
It's possible to do it by yourself now.
Yes,
it was much harder back then.
Yeah. Like I was going to mention the guy from Boston. I can't remember his name right now, but the guy from Boston also was one of those kind of guys.
Brad Delp.
Is that
Tom Scholes?
The guy that wrote most of the first one. He was really, really into recording and stuff, and like apparently like just put all of his energy for years into this album, and then it was his vision or whatever. But then he had to try to play it live with people after it got a little bit of attention. Although what it seems to me from the story that I remember reading is like he was more interested in the recording aspect of everything than anything. You know what I mean?
It's super fun.
Tom Schultz. That's the guy. That's the guy. Yep. And eventually he did record even, a lot of stuff that was on the same level. It just never hit as hard as the first Boston album. But it's definitely like a style of going about the music industry. Devin Townsend's one we did recently that's in that vein. Also, one of the guests we had before that's his own mastermind, Spiral Cell, was a previous episode we had. He does everything himself, and he performs, but he has like a bunch of like looping and backing stuff going on. Again, I'd love to see it live, but I understand if you have a very busy life going on.
I would love to. Maybe one day. We'll see.
Maybe they'll pick up one of these songs and throw it on a video game or something, and people will be like, I want to see this.
I would love that if it was in a video game.
Right. That's how some bands really shoot up, man. What was the one from Borderlands?
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, everyone knows Ain't No Rest for the Wicked.
Yes.
And mostly I think because of that game's infinite.
That's cool.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
We're in a completely different like landscape for music. It's crazy. But speaking of a completely different landscape for music, we have another track for you guys, which might be a completely different landscape from the previous song. But actually, no, this.
But still part of the same song.
I was about to say, no, this is the one that kind of fades
leads
into. So,
yeah. So same riff as Sinking Ember, the exact same chords the whole time.
Okay. This is from A Fiery Surf. Yeah, from Fiery Surf, from the titular Fiery Surf.
Yeah, almost the name of the album, but it was way too long to be a single. It was, in my mind, it's the focus track, but probably for most people it isn't. This was like the birth of the Fire Whale. Was this song?
Okay. Okay. So this is when it first comes into being for you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Nice. This one I had a thought that the source, as referenced in the previous track, is he finds is a siren that drew him to it, I was thinking that, a lot of this, for this track in particular is like an allegory with the siren song and being drawn into it and the storm and all that. Like, an allegory for maybe a toxic relationship, and which in the end, comes into a positive, place because you end with Ripple in the Sky,
Yeah. That is close enough that could be what it is.
Sorry if I got too close.
No, that's it's kind of like a slightly different twist on how I think about it, but it's effectively the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
that's awesome.
I'm probably bringing my own stuff to it too,
But which I hope people do when they listen, right? I think we all do when we listen to an album. It speaks to us in different times and different ways, and Yeah.
Well,
this one's also, but at the same time, I hope it
Yeah.
doesn't speak to too many people because this is definitely the darkest track.
Well, definitely
not that many people
yeah.
are going through this. Maybe people have been there, but
well, yeah. As far as the story of the album goes, it is definitely the dark point before you like kind of rise up into more positive vibes.
It's when our hero, as you put it, slips to his darkest depths.
Yeah.
At the same time, very relatable because like the last album we did, morbid stuff like and throughout your life, like there's always like those moments or shit happens, like I know exactly what they're talking about, like or you can read it, or same thing. Maybe like 4 or 5 years, like you'll listen to this record, and then all of a sudden something will happen, like you'll listen to it again, like something else will click. Like this makes more sense. This is you can relate to it on a different level again.
Yeah, exactly. Upon repeated like listening and things. Yeah. Because I mean, like like especially like what I was mentioning, like a toxic relationship thing. You know what I mean? Like if you're like in one, you might not know what I'm saying. You know what I mean? You might not see the connection or whatever.
You're in the storm.
You're in the storm. Yeah, exactly. You're in the midst
That's exactly
of,
what this song is.
Yeah. You're trying to you're going to the siren call, which is self-defeating and it's but like I was saying though, in the end though, I love that it goes into a kind of logical like place for positive growth, I guess.
Eventually he breaks free, but not before there's the section at the end of the first verse that's really just like in the moment, ends with her siren's call fills my mind, but what I wish I could say is, and then it just cuts to an instrumental. Because
I did notice that. I was wondering if it was like I was thinking maybe the next line is what the line is, but
it is, but it takes a while to get there.
Okay, cool.
And there's just some screaming in the meantime.
Yeah. That's always a nice way to
emotion.
Emote in a song. Yeah. Especially if you've been doing this for 12 years, like you were listening to music in the 2000s and stuff, so.
Definitely.
Yeah. When I found out the 12-year thing, it kind of made some of this click because I was like, oh, I think a few of these sounds are coming through from earlier times.
That's cool. So actually on Spotify, I have linked to my account a playlist of my influences in chronological order.
Okay.
And I can kind of see like what I was listening to at the time and see a little bit how it connects to the album. But it's mixed, obviously. Like things that I am doing now are from influenced by music I heard even when I was a kid, but definitely whatever I was listening to at the time had made its way into the music.
And I think that shows just in the album as a whole. It's got a lot of different influences at play, which is
on the Spotify for like the accounter for Fire Whale, like the influences were pretty intense. I'm like, all right, I'm game for all these bands.
Yeah, judging by these. Yeah.
I like really high energy rock. It's got to have emotion for me to be into
Mars
it.
Volta was definitely like,
oh man, one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, love me some Mars Volta. Yeah, can't get enough. I think there was one that you said was similar to some Mars Volta. I can't remember which one, but
Queens of the Stone Age, and
there's one track that very
earlier.
much Queens of the Stone Age. I thought we'll get to that one. On the second half, but
there's some Daikaiju, and I think one of the earlier tracks. I think
maybe
have you
this
heard
one. Daikaiju, man?
No.
Oh man, I don't know if they get out to California.
They might, I think,
but
it's just crazy surf rock. But there's no singing; it's all instrumental. It's all just great guitar, and it's high energy,
insane high energy stage show. Yeah,
I'm looking that up right after this.
Dude, you need it.
Oh yeah,
it'll fix your life.
See them live if possible. Watch them.
Awesome.
Watch them burn some shit.
Any Eclipse live you find. Just go do it.
Like they were burning shit in a very short bar that I was in, and I was like,
but
this is highly unsafe, but I love it. And then they went outside to burn more stuff. So it was
like
more,
their van.
Yeah, their van and stuff. They wear masks too, so they have like a whole.
And they don't talk once it's on the once they're
going.
playing. They'll just point like basically they'll set up like in the middle of a stage, like not in the stage, like in the middle of the floor. And if they decide they want to start moving around, they'll point to people and and equipment like you won't say anything. Just point just they want you to move all their like amps and stuff around and like reset it back up, and they'll keep playing.
Yeah. So note to anyone out there, if you see Daikaiju on a poster, go to that show. You will not be disappointed. Right. Yeah. We're gonna move on to two more. We have two more clips for you guys before we move on to our break. But this next track is called "A Ripple in the Sky."
Can't help but smile at all that pain. It's the end of a beautiful thing with intentionality and action. We will grow, we will grow.
So, when was this written in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, great question. This is right before I moved to India. So this is the end of college. Okay. This is kind of coming out of the emotional state of the breakup, and kind of life felt a bit in slow motion because I was leaving my hometown, going to leave my country, temporarily, but it felt like a big thing to be doing.
Definitely,
and
for sure.
Especially for
everything
2 years.
Felt a bit in slow motion and tender, and there was really a moment of reflection.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really, really good time to write a song.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's it seems like the perfect storm. Not pun intended. For making some stuff.
Yeah. So the ripple in the sky. The idea there is the fire whale when he's under. So the fire whale is, by the way, a I guess mythical creature.
Okay, is this a real thing?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
Mythical in the fire whale universe.
Yes. In the fire whale-averse. Yeah.
I like a good story. I'm a huge fan of fantasy, and so I also, with this album, I really wanted to make a story, and so there's a lot of imagery in the lyrics. So the fire whale, when he's underwater, so his skin wants to constantly burst into flames, but when he's underwater, he can't. So he's just the smoldering dark cloud. Slowly moving this massive creature through the dark depths of the sea. But the whale has to come to the surface. And when he does, he bursts out into the air. So from underneath, you would see a ripple in the sky. And when he does, he just erupts into flame. But I like to think it doesn't hurt him. It's finally a moment to breathe the fresh air, not breathing his own smoke anymore. Which is what he's doing when he's underwater and in his smoldering state. And is free for a moment, and then the whole cycle will repeat. We all go through cycles in life, and but this is a moment of kind of suspended animation.
Man, I love that.
That's great. That's a great explanation for what the song is about.
And that's sort of the image that was behind the whole album. Was that.
This middle kind of portion, almost midway through the story of the album.
Mm-hmm.
I was also thinking that it really feel like is about some growth and acceptance, self-acceptance.
Exactly.
Kind of expounding upon the last lyric, which was "I'm nobody's man but my own" from the previous song. Really, really positive song to throw on if you're, if you need some words of encouragement or something,
And it's kind of just simple indie rock too, which for me was hard to do. I'm like, I just want to add all this stuff to it, but I tried to keep it really bare bones to strip away everything to capture a more raw feeling.
Yeah, and you do break into some jamming stuff later in the song.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to capture this moment of it because it's one thing I noticed in the first half of the album, at least. It seems like your vocals get more pronounced until this track where it is the most pronounced.
Yeah,
you know.
I think I get better at singing also because this happened over a few years, and so
okay. I was wondering if that was like a thematic thing or something. Yeah.
This one was meant to be more of an honest sounding voice because of the nature of the song. That's true, at least for this song. And then later on, we go back to the kind of psych rock thing. Where there's like a little bit of distortion and echo.
Yeah.
So yeah, and to this point, it's thematic.
Yeah. Nice.
And this really starts. So this. I think it was around this point that I knew that there was going to be the album about the fire whale. It was originally going to be called The Fire Whale, but then I couldn't come up with a better band name, and so
so that became the band name. So that became, and you're like, I need a new album name.
Yeah, because I didn't want to do a self-title.
Yeah.
And so
Are
I
you
knew
saving that or?
No,
some people save
I've
it
never
for
been
like
into
4 or
self-titles.
5. You know what I mean?
I'll never do it.
Okay.
But this album is really about
James is
the
saying
fire
on
whale.
the podcast right now he's never going to do a self-title. Right?
You can hold me to that. Yeah.
In the future. Sorry, what were you saying?
So I knew that this song was going to come right after. So like the From a Fiery Surf ends with just like a bunch of distortion in the electric guitar, and I wanted that. I always knew that was going to just fade into this acoustic piece.
Yeah.
And so it was around here that I knew that there was going to be this album, and then I started writing this song based on a new theme musically. So the chords really change here, and this is the song that took me about 5 years to write because I was trying to articulate something that felt really important to me, and it took a long time to do that, and basically was written over the course of the entire time in India. And then I come back to the US and started grad school, and it was like having reverse culture shock and starting a new life and things like that. So it kind of encompassed this whole period. And what ended up being neat about the whole album is that I wasn't planning to have it take so long, obviously, but what ended up being cool is that it in the end, basically every song was written chronologically.
Oh, okay.
And so it ends up just following this story.
About it. Yeah.
Yeah. It ends up following, it's really like a personal story that I turned into with all these analogies and everything. But so this one ended up being in the end, a 13-minute long song. So tracks 5 through 8. So Ripple in the Sky all the way through Emerge Victorious were originally all one song that was 13 minutes long.
Yeah.
And
nice.
Yeah, this starts it off.
Well, that actually fits perfectly into the next clip I have for you guys before we go on break. So I've put 6 and 7 together. I have the end of 6 and the beginning of 7 for the next clip because, this is one of those albums that is almost continuous throughout the entire thing. So, there's a lot of good transitions, but there was also a lot of good in-between points. So this is the first one where I could be like, all right, I'm taking this one. So this is going to be Serenity Within Chaos into Not All Those Who Wander Are Lost.
Should have said something when the break was. because probably people don't hear it, which is great. Also, you can listen to the whole album and be aware of when the transitions are.
Yeah, that was one thing I loved about it. I was both was complaining and loving about it because like I was picking clips and I was like, wait, where's the in between point for this? It's a great album to just put on and listen to the entire thing.
That's all I've ever wanted, Brad. Thank you.
Yeah, unshuffled, by the way.
Oh my
unshuffled.
God. Please don't do that.
It's even better when you have like a record you like the first time you've never heard or maybe maybe a song, but you never heard like the whole album. But you put it on, you maybe just got it, relaxing, and also. And same thing, like some tracks, just like, is this one song? How long is this? And you're like, oh, I've listened to 3 songs.
Yeah, because you don't realize.
They just kind of blend and they just kind of work so well together in that.
Yeah.
That's the magic of a concept album.
Yes,
that's true. They're often very, very. I find that artists are working like at top notch when they're making a concept album. I think, like it just. Like I didn't expect like going through all these that I'd love as many of them as I did.
There's a lot of thought into each track.
Yeah, but there's always so much thought put into just every.
And it's like the perfect mixtape where there's layers where you want to have like the story kind of being told in that sense.
Yeah. Concept albums are dope, guys. I know that if you're listening to this, you probably already know that, but like, fucking A. I love the way that it the track 6 transitions into like another like surf rock / for me post-hardcore kind of jam. And I was also thinking, have you ever heard of Me Without You or Fleet Foxes?
Fleet Foxes, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got a little bit of Fleet Foxes in some of this, but Me Without You.
That's crazy. I've never identified that, and nobody's ever mentioned that before. But this was when I learned about the Fleet Foxes. Was right when I was making.
Really?
Like this part of that song.
Oh, crazy!
That's cool. I never realized that.
Awesome. Fleet Foxes was really big for me in college. Like,
nice.
When I
ever since hearing them, I just want to put like the reverb to saturation on all the vocals. I stayed away from it, but I love their sound.
Well, yeah, and I found out about them that they were actually from an area of Washington where like big chorus vocals were done in like clubs. I guess like there was people that were doing those big grandiose
State
vocals.
Or
Washington State.
Okay.
It was apparently popular in a certain area, like doing those big grandiose like almost Gregorian chant like vocals. That's cool. That's part of how I think they got that sound. Love Fleet Foxes, but Me Without You is another one that you really, really remind me of.
Yeah, I'll check them out.
Tracks because the guitar and how I don't know, the spaciness I guess of it is what I've always described it as, but I don't have.
I wonder if why you're saying this is because part of the kind of signature sound of this album is the reverb is really just 211. And it's kind of it saturates at some point, and it happens at several points throughout the album. But this part of the song, Not All Those Who Wander Are Lost, the instrumental part is it's just guitar, tabla, and drums, nothing else. And so you can hear the sound of the guitar a lot more, and it's what gives it its sound is just all the reverb.
Oh, no bass even. Okay.
There's no bass. Yeah. That was also a judgment call that took me a while to decide to do, but
good call. I didn't notice it at all.
It makes it a bit, I don't know, a little bit different.
Yeah. Because like it's one of those things where like, you just assume bass is in like every track.
Right.
I
think it was around this time that I also started listening to Alt J for the first time, and they don't have, at least in their first album, An Awesome Wave, they don't have bass. They have synth sometimes that plays that role, but that was the first time I had ever heard of anybody doing that kind of thing, and I think that gave me a bit more courage to do it.
Yeah.
There are a couple of duo bands I love. They're just drum and guitar.
Yeah, I guess like Black Keys and
one
stuff.
Restaurant and also In the Whale. Those two are just really solid too.
A distant cousin to Firewheel.
Yeah, speaking of Jonah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. All right. Two pieces are always impressive when they can pull it off.
Yeah, I saw was like, in the whale before. I think they opened for like Agent Orange.
Oh wow, that was
like,
a
I'm
fun
like,
show.
Who's this? And like track 1 or 2, like it's kind of getting started, but they were like amped up at like they had high energy, like 12. Come on, never get front, and they play another song like right away. Like I bought like a CD. I'm like, these guys are great. I'm like, holy shit. Like, there's exactly what I wanted.
There's some people that just have that stage presence.
They
man.
are fantastic.
Yeah. That's how I feel about jazz. What was it? Jazzcore Friction, I think is their name.
Yes.
They're my friend Jonah and Gabe Wilson from around here. They have a 3-piece that is just electric live. Like the drummer Jonah is always like standing up and doing random shit. Like, I don't know. He's always just jumping off his drum set and like jumping up and down while he's playing the drums and stuff. He's one of the most amazing drummers I've seen play live.
That's fun. Is it a jazz rock fusion, or is that just in the name?
So I don't think there's really much jazz involved in their sound, but they're very White Stripes influenced, and I recently introduced them to King Gizzard. So I'm anticipating a change to their sound in the near future, but we'll see what happens.
Nice.
King Gizzard has a way of changing people, I think. Which track here? Which track is when you find King Gizzard of these?
Sadly, after.
Okay. This is all
post recent convert. Yeah.
So this is pre Giz for you.
Yeah. So I guess the background here is I've been messaging with Brad about King Gizzard a bunch, and that's how I found your podcast in the first place.
You listened to the Omnium Gatherum episode.
Yeah, and then I've also listened to the episode on Microtonal Banana and Polygon Dwanaland.
Oh, those are fun.
I'm obsessed with it. One of those was the Halloween episode or something, right?
Yeah. We have 2. That's a yearly tradition now. Halloween episode with King Gizzard.
I can see David's a fan of them.
Oh yeah, those are fun. Those
it's
are
something that definitely Brad influenced on me, because before then, like I heard of him, like I never got into it.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you gotta try this, and like I think it was before we just did the last album. I went through into like 3 or 4 albums. Like, all right.
Yeah,
these guys are pretty good.
Got to give it to them. Yeah. These guys got something. Yeah.
I'm a
because you don't want to believe
convert.
it at first. You don't want to believe at first that they can be that good.
It's just overwhelming.
It doesn't make sense.
You don't know where to start.
No.
So it was like maybe December this year, or a few months ago, and I had heard like one song and I liked it a lot. I think from I'm in Your Mind Fuzz, and
yes,
I was like, I had heard enough about them, and their Instagram seems super fun. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go for it. I hear they have some concept albums, and so I listened to every single album start to finish in chronological order. From December through however long it took me. There's like a few months. And now they're just one of my favorite bands in the world. And this is. I started listening to them around the time that I released the album, but the album was basically done by that time. So we'll see.
I was gonna say. I think that it fits in a similar like category as far as like the psych rock kind of thing going, like, because that's something that like is a little bit more recent that's coming back, is the psychedelic stuff like is becoming more of the thing, which I love,
me too, but now it's,
and not in a cheesy
my time.
90s way either, like
there's some psych rock that's like 70s psychedelic rock that's just not different from, I guess, what people were doing a while ago, but there's also some really cool innovative stuff. King Gizzards.
And they're one of the bands that have given me more hope in rock moving forward, you know what I mean? Because especially while with the rise of hip hop, I'm a big hip hop fan. I was like, this is pretty much rock and roll now. I don't know if rock is coming back. And then like a few bands like King Gizzard come out, and Inspector 34, who's been on the podcast, a few bands here and there give me hope for rock moving forward. You know what I mean?
We just need that energy still. I understand what you're saying, how it might not live forever in the way that we know it, but
not the way it was.
You still need some punk rock. You still need some metal. Like nothing has quite the same energy, but they do it in a way that's
Pup. Pup's the band we covered last week, and they have a lot of really, really good energy too. I guess they're
new takes on it. But yeah, I guess just to answer your question, I will see what happens in the next album. But as soon as I hear them, I'm like, okay, I need to somehow have 2 drummers in all of my music from now on.
Yeah. How do I compete with this? Fucking, they're putting out like 5 albums a year. What do I do?
That I can't compete with.
Yeah. I know, right? Like they've clearly set a standard that like no one can compete with really in a healthy way. Yeah. You know,
but it's a bit like the Beatles in that there are many songwriters, right?
Yeah.
Like there are many people contributing. It's a big project, right? Stu McKenzie, I guess, does.
Yeah, he's the mastermind, but
he's just super happy for everybody else to contribute as much as they want, as much or as little. And the Beatles were super prolific too. I never understood how the Beatles released 1 album a year, but they have, really 3 songwriters.
Yeah. Especially after watching the documentary, I was like, wait, these guys weren't even 30? What the fuck?
It's crazy.
I was like,
obviously.
I am 33 now, so this is all very
you're
alarming.
Retired, you're done.
Yeah, right?
The bands like Unknown Mortal Orchestra and Tame Impala are some of my favorites these days, and they're one person, and they release an album every several years. So
yeah.
That's
like that, totally understandable. But we're gonna take a quick break though before we get to the last I think 5 tracks we got left for you guys. When we get back from the break, we will be finishing up what you were saying is, kind of used to be a continuous song with track 8, Emerge Victorious. So, stay tuned for that on the Album Concept Hour.
This is Reese.
And this is Nate.
From Side B.
And you're listening to the Album Concept Hour.
Man. Oh yeah,
that's a way better audio quality here than the first time I heard that on the podcast. I had no idea what it was saying, but now I can make out.
Yeah.
What is Dave drinking?
Still one of our finest moments, I think. Because that one came completely out of nowhere. We didn't plan that.
That was like early on.
Very early on. Yeah, we were kind of just testing out how to do the podcast, I think, at that point. That's King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. In case you are unfamiliar, that's from Polygon.
Don't want to be a crumbling castle.
Yeah. At the end bit of Crumbling Castle. It's a very long track. It's like 13 minutes, 12,
something
13.
like that. It's awesome, all of it, every second of it.
Oh yeah. And the music video, especially if you watch along with the music video, it's wild. Yeah, all their music videos are really, really good. They are. That's something we're going to
talking about lo-fi. Their music videos are very lo-fi.
Yes,
they're great.
Very lo-fi, and I love all of it. It's just it brings me back. But we're on Wednesday of drinking. That's right. What are we doing? So let's see. I'll start, and then we'll go to Dave, then Jake, then James. How about that? I am I was sipping on some Fantasy Factory from Carbon 4, my former employer, Carbon 4. Really, really actually enjoyed that. I haven't had it in a while. But it's very good. It's got the picture of the cat with a gun on a unicorn, in case you're familiar with that image. And
it was an internet.
Familiar.
If you're not, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry that
it was an internet post, and then they actually stole it and used it. I think technically without permission.
I think they ended up
doing something.
I think they ended up either hiring that person for other stuff, or something.
Originally, they just used it.
There's a few. They found an internet meme and put it on their beer. And then a guy was like, "Wait,
that's mine.
That was my meme.
Yeah, that was my meme." It was fine, but you're making money off of it, so
give me some of that money.
Give me some of that cheddar. Good. And then I think that he did design a few more of their cans.
I believe so. Yeah.
There's very similar styles. But the other thing I am sipping on is what Dave brought over today. This is some New Glarus Kid Kolsch. You wanna take it away, Dave?
Man, it's a seasonal. It's not out all the time, but so about a month or so ago, I saw the schedule. Like it will be out. It'll be out soon, and it's when it releases, I get a little excited. It's basically just super simple and happy, and it's a little goat, and
it's almost like
a local brewery there.
Yep. Yeah, this is the one that's only in Wisconsin. We do not
even the notorious Wisconsin
they do not
brewery,
even export.
Like Spotted Cow's the big one, and
you have to smuggle this into other states if you want to.
People have gotten in big trouble.
People have literally, this is something that happens regularly.
Happens in New York.
Places in Minnesota have served it over the border, and
no good.
Bars in New York bought cases and try to serve it as well.
The New Glarus police burst in and they're like, "No, how dare you!"
So sorry about this intrusion,
right. But they're one of the best local breweries around.
But so post of the song earlier, it's not a dark beer. It's just a Kolsch. It's light drinking, and again, I keep wanting to bring stuff on, but I'm like, it's been a long day. It's hot. Like I just want something light.
Yeah.
I love a Kolsch.
It works.
It reminds me of like Oktoberfest.
Drink a lot of Kolsch.
I don't think I've had Kolsch before, but this is good.
I've had that one before. It's good.
Yeah,
it's a solid beer, and I posted a video of or the picture before we were doing the listen through earlier, and a couple of friends like, great beer.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm never disappointed really with New Glarus. No matter, even though I'm not a big fan of the style, it's tasty. I like the what is it? The Moon Man.
No Coast.
Oh yeah. Love me some
No Coast Pale Ale.
Yeah.
Did a wedding in Monroe last weekend and drove right by New Glarus Brewery.
Oh yeah. Nice. You stop in, grab
it was about
grab a tour, get drunk.
12:30 a.m. and I was like, it's probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
That's a good time for a beer.
I always drive by on the way to not the best time for beer.
Great time. What are you talking about? 12:30?
But I always
post Bloody Mary time
on the way to my step siblings' houses are in Monroe, so I usually pass by New Glarus on the way.
Another cool little town.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool little towns here and there.
Little taverns.
Yeah.
Jake, what you got? What you drinking?
What you sipping on?
Nature's Touch.
Nice.
Natural spring water.
Sweet.
Been touched by the water.
The old Quick Trip.
Nice.
KWIK.
Those
Trip.
ones you can kind of like twist them up and then like pop the bottle off, pop the cap off, and really freak people out.
That's
it's
right.
Great. It's a good time.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I approve it.
I used to do it after like every show when I was in my band back in the day. I would pop as many of those as I could find.
Yesterday was the last day of school for the regular school year that I for the school that I teach
that's
at.
right.
And
that's
so,
right. Yeah.
I had a couple pops were caps were popped. Yeah.
Yeah. That tracks. I'm glad that they're keeping the tradition alive. In newer generations. Yeah.
This also sounds like it might be a Midwest thing. I've never heard of.
Could be. Did you have sack tapping in California?
Yes, we do.
Okay, that was universal. Okay. Fortunately, it is stopped as far as I know. Let's not bring it back right now, and by describing what it is. What are you sipping on, James?
I've got some homemade mead.
Homemade?
Wow. Mead as in honey wine.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I'm a big fan of fantasy. So I think I used to make beer, and it's just a lot of work. And I was reading the Kingkiller Chronicles. I don't know if you guys know these kinds of books, but The Name of the Wind is the first book.
Okay.
Excellent book if you like fantasy. Absolutely excellent. And there's this scene where he basically just describes drinking mead and just like the flavor of the honey and the sweetness, and it's like, it's supposed to be fantasy medieval times where you don't normally have like sweets like that. And so I was like, man, I really want some mead. And so I made a huge batch of it.
You just brewed your own.
Yeah, instead of going out, you were like, you know what?
I had all the equipment already for the beer, and I just wasn't using it because the beer was too much to me. Yeah. And it's way easier. You have to be really patient. It takes like a year for it to be any good, but the the work up front is you basically just mix water and honey and yeast and let it go.
Wow.
Jay,
Wow.
do you ever make it down to San Diego?
A few times.
There's a pretty decent meter I just heard that opened, or not just opened, but I think it's called Lost Cause Meadery down in San Diego.
Cool.
It's pretty good. So
Yeah. There
right,
are some good local. Yeah, there's some good microbrews all over California. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're
like one of the kings when it comes to microbrew beer.
Yeah. They always like to take something that Wisconsin's doing really well and then try to do it better. You know what I mean? Like there's the cheese thing and the
Well, Happy Cows.
the Happy Cows thing, and then now they're the microbreweries.
I'll tip my head.
I'm just bitter.
California.
I'm just bitter about the Happy Cows thing.
I don't think we've beaten you on cheese. I think Wisconsin's well known for cheese.
Yeah, thank you.
The quality of cheese for sure. The production of cheese, I think, has been at times has gone back and forth. But
Really?
questionable.
I didn't even know
Yeah.
that.
So for
Yeah.
that's
Wisconsin can be a
the
little
one thing.
sketchy.
Well, that's the one thing that we got, and so we keep track.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
It's razor thin. We know what's happening.
Yeah. We cannot let California overcome us on cheese. This cannot stand.
Monroe has their whole thing is the cheese days. That's
Oh my
this is a
god.
Monroe centric episode.
I love me cheese days. That's a very Wisconsin thing.
See, do they have cheese days in California anywhere?
that I know of.
Yeah. There's way too many.
so many
There's
Happy
way too many other great things in California. You don't need cheese days.
This is yeah. If you couldn't tell, this is a Midwest.
It's been the
podcast.
cheese hour.
Yeah, we're very passionate about our cheese.
Can we get a cheese sponsor?
We fucking should. Like, I'd love to have a cheese sponsor. Honestly, oh my god, I would taste cheese with the beer. Like that's a thing, right?
Wine and beer.
Yeah.
Cheese.
Well, I know
Why
it's
not?
usually wine and beer, but
yeah.
why not beer and cheese?
It's the Wisconsin version.
Or wait, I said wine and beer.
You can do Bloody Mary, but
Wine
some,
and cheese.
Wine and cheese. Yes.
beef sticks and some cheese in there.
Beef sticks. We got those too. Yeah.
Do some blue cheese stuffed olives. Do some martinis. You can mix. You can taste them that.
Yeah, you got a whole meal. Yeah. Well, anyway, that has been our very famous segment. What is Dave
and
drinking?
long-winded this time.
And then, we were curious though. Before we got into more tracks, one question we usually ask our guests is, what was some music that you kind of first called your own, as like going back to like maybe middle school or earlier, was something that you heard that immediately. I know you mentioned the surf rock a little bit, but
Yeah. I guess that would be probably Rage Against the Machine.
Oh,
I think
tight.
I think that was the first time I was really like into a band and like learning about, the message that they were spreading. And I was trying to,
that's
it was
a great
around the
place
time
to start.
that I was learning. I mean, before that, I grew up with the Beatles, and the Beatles were super important to me. And, I also had like the things that I liked in elementary school that,
Were you
for a
also
month or whatever?
Were you also raised with Beach Boys as well, or was it just
more
Beatles?
the Beatles? Some Beach Boys. My dad always talked about the harmonies in the Beach Boys, and I never got it.
Yeah. Do you get it now though?
At least. Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
I can see why it's.
Yeah. I was the same way. I would heard about the Beach Boys a lot, and I was like, oh, those surf guys, whatever. And then I heard Pet Sounds in its entirety, and I was like, oh shit, like
yeah,
this is what you were talking.
Oh my god. Yeah. It's but yeah, some people aren't raised with any Beach Boys at all. You know what I mean?
Souls.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, like it's a good thing to have in your life. But that's we've been talking recently on the podcast about Beach Boys because we had a Jim Warren on from Inspector 34 tell us all about how after Pet Sounds there's a good decade of great music for the Beach Boys.
Really? Actually, I didn't know that. I mean,
I didn't know that
explored
either. Yeah,
very much. So
I've listened to like a couple past Pet Sounds now, and like, I'm like, they keep on, going down a similar path as Pet Sounds.
Cool.
So Yeah. It's definitely worth a listen if you are curious about the Beach Boys and enjoyed Pet Sounds or something.
Nice.
Yeah. So Rage Against the Machine though, one of the first. Yeah.
I was starting to learn guitar around the time that I was listening to Rage, so I learned a few songs and just found what Tom Morello was doing.
Yeah.
The guitar player, super innovative and interesting, and I was really into that, like making weird sounds, and would try and go and like scratch my guitar with a pick and just see if it sounded cool. Obviously not as cool as what Tom Morello's doing, but I was inspired at least.
Well, yeah, he's got crazy like stacks of whatever on his stage. You know what I mean? Like he's got
and the whammy pedal that was kind of rare at the time.
Yeah, and he's got that guy yelling behind him all the time. Like he's not worried about inspiration. Him.
Those guys are awesome. I think that was the first time I was really like into a band, and also I was also listening to like to hip hop at that time. I do listen to other stuff, but I don't know, that fed my like high energy rock roots.
Well, what's his name? I'm blanking on the lead singer's name.
Zach
De La
Rocha. He's guested on like I think 3 Run the Jewels tracks. I don't know if you're gonna Run the Jewels, but like
I listened to him a little bit.
Every track he shows up on is just magnificent.
Okay.
It makes you want to hear him in a purely hip hop setting.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, he's one of those artists that keeps on popping up, in various things and like guesting on things and always making a big statement. You know what I mean?
Off.
Yeah. He's definitely, even if I'm not like I've never been like a huge Rage Against the Machine guy, but like I love all the members of it outside of any of the music stuff. They're just great people.
Yeah. I mean, they had a message to deliver.
Yeah.
So they were doing it for more than just the music.
Well, and there's that video of Zach De La Rocha interviewing Noam Chomsky. Have you ever seen that?
Oh my God, no.
Oh my God, he's geeking out so hard talking to Noam Chomsky. It's so funny because like Noam Chomsky is at this point maybe like I don't know 60 or something in the video, but he's he's an old man, and it was in the 90s, so like it was probably just the last thing that people expected when tuning into an interview from Zach De La Rocha. But
you learn things when you paid enough attention to Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
You learn about things going on in the world.
He really, he's well versed on all sorts of stuff.
And Tom Morello studied political science in college. I remember maybe that was kind of indirectly an influence on me too.
Oh, okay.
Is like the idea of being an academic and also doing music.
Yeah.
And was in Madison for some protest a while back, or I think it was during Scott Walker.
Oh, what did he?
Yeah, I think he was in.
Yeah, that would make sense.
In town, and also playing music during the events and stuff too.
Ah, man, that's like the protest that I wasn't protesting much yet, but that I always hear stories from that. Was it 10 years ago now or something? 2010. There was a
12.
Was it 12? 2012? Yeah.
No. 2010.
2010.
That was 12 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Right. Math. But yeah. Wisconsin was going through a lot and is still going through a lot. Repercussions from what happened then.
Teacher labor issues.
Yes.
Labor unions.
Yeah. It's a really long and complicated story, but it's not great being a battleground state is pretty much the long and short of it. But what are you gonna do?
Have some cheese.
But
before we get too far, we were talking about popping caps, and let's just make sure. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't referring.
Pops.
Huh. Interesting, actually. That's a new wrinkle to this that I never considered.
It did cross my mind. I'll be honest.
Which came first? I'm wondering which came first. Did popping caps off of water bottles come first,
Probably not.
or shooting people with guns? You know what I mean?
Probably later.
Who's to say?
I mean, honestly, probably the cap gun.
Damn kids in their water bottles, popping caps in the alley.
Plow. Just fucking. Anyway,
but yeah, the viewers can't see the water bottle that you have.
Yeah. But yeah, if you have a water bottle with a very tiny lid, you can
and the plastic is very thin that you can create enough pressure to then pop the cap off of it.
And what's really cool is that it turns into
amount of pressure.
It turns into vapor. The water that is left in the bottle turns into vapor in a really cool puff.
Now that is science.
That's science.
That is what we were talking about.
Yes.
Thank you, Bill Nye.
Yeah. We were not talking about some horrible stuff that has been happening lately. But this next track we have for you guys is called Emerge Victorious, and it is the conclusion of the several tracks you mentioned that were originally one.
I call it the Emerge through Emerge Victorious suite.
Emerge through Emerge Victorious. This is Emerge Victorious. Yeah, that's a fun moment of the.
I still can't believe it turned out the way it did. I always imagined for like a period of 5 years or so that I would have this choir.
Yeah,
and I had no idea how to make it happen, and didn't really know how it would actually turn out.
Yeah.
And
so wait, is that a choir or is that keys?
No, it's a real voice, but it's actually one person. So there's again, this is when I figured out I could hire musicians remotely to send me WAV files. This is like a kind of a common thing now. And I just went to town and was like hiring people for all the parts that I wanted. And I found it's a choir based in England called the U Angels Choir.
Oh, wow.
And,
so it is a choir.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I thought it was just really, really good sounding keys, maybe. You know,
I tried it, but it just doesn't. It's just not the same.
I was like, "What is that keyboard if it's keys?" Because like, I want that. But
hired a choir just for that. Like, I don't know, like 15 seconds or however long it is, 30
Worth
seconds.
It was, yeah. I wrote this down in my notes as your Pink Floyd moment.
Totally,
you know, because like that's in Dark Side, this is what breaks it wide open. You know. Very, very important, like it's just moment in rock music and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it has a similar, kind of emotional kind of sweep to it, considering what we've gone through so far with the main character in the album. It carries the weight of that.
Absolutely. And Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon specifically, was a huge influence. That was you know. They do the Gapless album back at a time when I honestly don't know how they pulled it off in certain ways.
Yeah.
Like I had to learn like technically how you do this with a digital recording. So you don't have like a clip between songs, and I don't know how when it was vinyl, it was easy, right? But it's
it's really hard to say how. Because there's like multiple ways I think you can do it, but
who was the producer? Dark Side was like Alan Parsons.
Parsons, I think, was involved. I want to say
I think producing or engineering he did a lot of hands in that one.
But when it was digitized, they must have revisited it. I don't know the story here.
That's what we haven't got.
He did it too. Okay.
Yeah.
They did an SACD version, which is like a 5.1.
Okay.
And when it came out, he again went in, I believe, when the studio they cleaned up and actually designed it to be like a 5.1 album for the SACD, and it sounds fantastic.
I don't know this for certain. I didn't mention it on the Omnium Gatherum album, but it feels like for the Omnium Gatherum album from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, that they took the fully produced and mastered thing, put it onto a vinyl, and then the vinyl is what we're hearing, is what it feels like. When I hear it on Spotify, there's a lot of points where there's clips and little warm tones and stuff. It almost seems like they fully produced it and then use that as what is put out. I can't confirm this. No one's talked about this yet online. So if you know anything, let me know. But there's a few points in the album you can hear.
They want a true vinyl.
You can hear the vinyl pops, but it doesn't draw a lot of attention to it or anything.
Yeah, but it's there between every track. Actually, I paid attention to that too. You can do that digitally now. It's really easy to just think about lo-fi hip hop. People just add this
But I don't. The thing is,
I don't know.
With them, I don't think they would do it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
The way that Stu thinks or whatever. I think he'd want to put it on a vinyl and then record that. It sounds crazy enough that it might be true. But again, I don't know if there's any King Gizzard fans that can confirm or deny that. That's some information I'd love to have.
Man, hit this nerd over here.
Hit 1608 hit nerd is the phone number. It is real. And
we had bought insurance.
Yeah, we had someone calling about Ween as well. Thank you, caller from Los Angeles, that called about Ween. By the way, if you're still listening, we appreciate your compliments and corrections. It's there's a really great moment in the album as far as production and emotional weight stuff goes. And I feel like we were kind of talking about in the previous tracks that are part of like you said, part of this track as its whole. Mm-hmm. This is a very I don't know, a good place that you or the character has gotten to as far as their trying to be present and trying to live in the moment and realize what is important. It kind of looks a little bit like looking at just the lyrics. It almost looks like a Taoist little story or poem.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I see what you mean. I definitely read some the Book of Tao and
that was great, dude.
Early in my life, but I didn't think about that explicitly. That's neat. Yeah. Exactly. It's basically a reflection,
mantras,
kind of the culmination. Yeah. It's kind of reaffirming, retelling myself that this is what we're gonna do. I intentionally use the word we throughout this entire section and never use I. Trying to say like we as a collective are doing this. And the kind of affirmations.
Yeah. And you touch on this idea of the water cycle. I don't know if that's I think that might be a previous track maybe, but
no, it's throughout the whole album really is the water cycle.
And initially I thought of the character as burning and coming down into the water and then joining into the water cycle as he becomes part of the ocean. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm super happy you say that because I didn't talk about that explicitly, but the way that I imagine Ripple in the Sky ending is that the steam from this flame and the water around him goes into the sky, and then you were up in the clouds for kind of the second half of Ripple in the Sky. Yeah. And then we come down as rain throughout the last couple tracks. They're Serenity Within Chaos and Not All Those Who Wander Are Lost, to me, are at a creek or at a river. And water is what connects the whole album. It's not just about the ocean. The ocean's probably the most forward theme, but the whole thing is about water. And so, you got
because you start off with the storm, which is, that's a form of water coming down in a violent way, and so you're showing, a lot of aspects of that and the life of water and how it's connected to everything,
Yeah. And I was at this time, around the time of at least Serenity Within Chaos. I mean, this is all the same song. Yeah. Was reading Siddhartha, which talks about kind of a philosophy about, it's by Hermann Hesse.
I think I've listened to the audiobook for that one. Tell me more. Keep talking about it.
So it's basically about the life of Buddha, and I don't think it's not actually about Buddha specifically. But it's not explicitly, but it's
parallel
like a story. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he goes through various different stages in learning to let go of material things or learning various lessons about life. Yeah. And at one point he's by a river and talks about how the rivers, you're never looking at the same river. And, even when you look at a river, it looks like it's not changing, but it's constantly changing. And so I was kind of invoking this wisdom about how a river and how water or a creek adapts to big changes. And so, because this is me trying to learn to adapt to the things that happened just before in the early part of the first third of the album. Yeah. And so really it's about learning to adapt like water to life's changes.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of adapting like water, that transitions perfectly to the next track, which is Of Water. So
there you go.
Yeah, here's the next track. Yeah, another jam, but with a little bit of vocals on top of it.
Yeah. So this one's in my mind kind of a break because the first 2/3 of the album are pretty heavy, pretty intense, and Emerge Victorious ends on this like really epic note, and it can be exhausting to go through all this stuff. It's important. You got to face it, and you got to go through these changes. But this is really the like relaxing after all that. I imagine just floating down a stream.
Yeah, kind of calm after the storm, kind of. Yeah.
Eventually returning to the sea, but just kind of floating along for the ride at this point.
Yeah. And was this another hire for the vocals for this? Or?
That was a roommate at the time.
Oh, okay.
Kate Gregory. Yeah. She was a good friend and roommate, and does. She's a great singer and plays Irish fiddle.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
And so I was working on, hard to say when the last stages of everything were. I was working on some of these songs at that time while we lived together. This is in Boulder, Colorado, when I was finishing my PhD. Okay. And I specifically had, I knew the melody and I knew that I wanted it to be a female voice for this song. And then she took it and, embellished on it. And so she did the vocals for this as well as another friend, actually. There's two voices in here. Siri Rado was
really? Okay.
A good friend who I made in India and ended up living in Boulder afterwards. So they're both on that. And then Kate ended up playing the violins on the final track on Luminescence as well.
Okay, cool.
So
cool.
This was just having a friend on the album.
Nice. Yeah, I mean it's great to like hire people, for albums, but it's always like a different thing when it's like someone that you know or is close to you.
Yeah, this is actually before I figured out how to hire people remotely. So this was I remember this same year I was like desperately trying to figure out how to get trumpet on the early half of the album. Yeah. And I had no idea how to do it.
Well, this track has a little bit of horns too, right? Is this the same?
And then so that part came during the pandemic. That part came after.
Okay. Well, is it the same person as the previous horns, or is this
No, it's a different person. That one's somebody in San Francisco, Anna Hildberg.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
A friend of a roommate from California.
Yeah. So someone in your circle or whatever.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was at the time that I originally wrote the song, though. I wrote the song, by the way, on Christmas Day, while my whole family was visiting in India, and everybody was just sick. Like everybody had food poisoning. It was Christmas Day. We had like 5 beds in my room at the time, and everybody's just laying down, just miserable. And I lived there for some time, so I was like, I'm okay. And was just like noodling around on the acoustic guitar in my room and came up with this riff that ended up being the song. But I was also listening to some hip hop, like I was listening to a lot of MF Doom and RJD2, and so the trumpets were really. I heard it before I actually tried it, imagining it being something like an RJD2 song.
Yeah. Nice. So you take the Brian Wilson approach, where you like have like the sound in your head, and you're like, I need to make this happen.
Yeah, ideally, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm able to stew over the song for years. then these things come.
Yeah,
they always come fast.
You're probably gonna have to quicken it up a little bit if the momentum keeps going for it, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a fine amount of time. I waited like I think 8 years for like one of my favorite bands to come out with like a full album. You know, they were indie too, and doing, you know, working various jobs and stuff too. So I mean, you know. It's when you're not getting paid to make music, it can be kind of a big endeavor. You know?
I wish I could just be recording music every day, but it's doesn't always work like that. But
no.
Again, the music for album number 2 is all written. The vocals, I need to record everything. Basically,
it's good that you have like the another one in the chamber though. Yeah, I mean, and again, I enjoy this. Hope you keep on, you know, to a third and fourth and stuff too. You know,
awesome.
Yeah. We got a couple more tracks for you guys. We got 3 more tracks off of this the Fiery Surf album, and this next track is a banger. This is So It Goes.
Mantra some people need sometimes.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. It's a good one. Like this one really like comes in hard, and it's gave me very much Queens of the Stone Age vibes. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but like I really like the production and the energy that it's bringing. You know?
Yeah, I think the production on this one is one of my favorite.
Yeah.
It turned out well.
Yeah.
I was also listening to a lot of Black Keys at this time, and I think that comes across too.
Yeah. In some of the vocals, maybe. Yeah.
Vocals for sure.
Yeah. The short delay, like a little bit of distortion.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just gives it a little bit more umph. It gives it a little more energy, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah. And it just has such a vibe to it, you know. I was saying this one kind of reminds me of just a stone cold rock song, you know, like before, you know, a lot of the other tracks I was thinking, you know, post hardcore, like I was saying, or alternative rock, but this one is just like, this is just rock.
It's rock. Awesome.
You know?
I'm so glad you like it.
Yeah.
For sure. When it comes to a lot of concept albums, there's always sometimes like a couple tracks like this could be a single, or this could be like a standout. Like, there are a lot of albums like you don't want to listen to as a single because it works better as the whole with the whole album and process. But for this, just works, but also as a single or just like a single track, you like introduces someone like, hey, check this out.
Yeah, I did release this one as a single.
Nice. Yeah, definitely a good call. I think this one definitely it captures something in a very short amount of time, you know, which is, I mean, that's what you need in a single. You know what I mean? You know, it's
hit it and quit it.
Yeah, it's the shortest amount of time you can possibly be like, hey, this band is cool, check them out. You know, because there's so many bands. There's so many bands to pick from, especially post MySpace. You know, it's just like, you know,
I know that's genre.
That's right. But yeah, that's my marker. MySpace is my marker for when the music industry changed. Emo definitely fucking blew up during the MySpace days.
That sounds
Oh my God. Yeah. That was all the rage. I definitely have a few pictures on my old MySpace of straightened hair. You know, I never went fully black, but it was definitely straight. a few times. You know, I had a hair.
You
straightener.
had probably a great profile pic.
Oh my god, it was a good profile pic. You know it. Yeah. Eventually, I came upon. I decided upon BradleyWitchDoctor.com as my name, and then I made the picture just BillyWatchDoctor.com, and I left it at that.
And you were way clearer than I was. I was just Dave Gallagher.
Yeah, well, I was.
I'm not there to press anyone.
I was in high school when MySpace happened, so it was like, oh my god, it was dumb.
I was like my mid-20s.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Missed the boat on MySpace.
It was. Honest. I will say one more thing about MySpace before we move on. We knew back in the MySpace days how bad and manipulative the internet can be. I want everyone to know that, like, it was bad back then. We just kind of developed resilience to it, us millennials. You know, like
damn kids in your.
But yeah. It was. We were definitely seeing like this could be abused. I think this social media thing.
I did see a meme the other day about this person had posted to Twitter. What if your like favorite song started to play as someone looked at your profile, your profile page or whatever, and the next one was like, we've reached a point where nobody like this generation has no idea what MySpace was.
No, I know. Yeah.
Which I don't.
It's been wiped from existence pretty much.
Well, they even in the fucking Marvel What If thing, they don't mention the MySpace line. They leave that line out because like they don't even want to fucking bring attention to the fact that in Iron Man 1 he says MySpace.
Yes.
Anyway, all the like Zoomers out there are like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? I don't understand. But no, this is a real jam though. This song in general, and I like that it gets back to some of the fiery stuff, but it's also kind of it's still in the realm of like someone that's kind of worked through some things a little more by saying just let it go, especially you know you're addressing like it's this argument or whatever is not that as important as it as
and
life
so
and stuff.
The lyrics actually come they're basically adapted from Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut.
Okay.
Hence the title So It Goes. I have a few songs like this where I'm basically adapting the language or lines from various books. And I'm
gonna have to look into that.
That book is incredible, and it kind of talks to me. It's a lot about kind of embracing. I think that's part of where I got the idea for the phrasing of serenity within chaos too. Is like there's a lot going on in the story, and the main character gets to a place. It's very comical and sci-fi, and also kind of anti-war. It's a crazy book. I absolutely love it. But gets to a place where like he's just able to go with the flow. And so this song is kind of about all that stuff from before happened, and it's kind of living with the having moved on. It's like kind of the next step.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is. Yeah, you are taking a logical, step towards bettering yourself or whatever. You know what I mean?
Or
the hero of this story. If you, or I mean, you know what I mean? Not you, of course. Again, great track though. Overall, if you guys want to, if anyone's listening out there and you want to just start with one, maybe start here if you're, skeptical or something, the next track we have for you guys is another instrumental track. This is, Wave Paradox. Yeah. Last jam of the album before one last track with some lyrics. But Yeah,
It's still one. This is one of my favorite songs.
It's
honestly, it's like
it
doesn't have any meaning behind it, but it's just super fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say that's what I wrote down. I put jam as fuck. No idea of the meaning, but very cool title.
It's like a psychedelic surf punk ride. It's just at high speeds. So it fits into everything in a sense, but it's and it's blasting forward.
It brings back that surf rock too for a second too. You know, it reminds you like, hey, remember where we started? You know.
Well, like especially like the Dick Dale. The reason like the sounds he made was when he was surfing, he was trying to recreate the sounds he would hear while he was surfing, like through like the waves, the tubes. He would try that's like a lot of the guitar was him like actually making.
You're melting my brain, Dave.
Just making the sounds of water into like music.
Oh my
God. There you go.
That's
why we call reverb wet. It's a wet guitar sound is what we say.
Is that why that's?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
And Dick Dale was one of the first to just also put the reverb to 11.
Yeah.
That's blowing my goddamn mind. I'm gonna make music that sounds like water. Okay.
Man, the dude loved to surf, Dale. So make the music that sounds like this.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess like surfing in a way spawned like skateboarding too. You know, they wanted to kind of recreate a
similar culture,
similar experience on land. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. And I mean, surfing goes back a long time, like we've had waves forever, wild. That's fucking wild, guys. I never would have thought that surf music is actually influenced by surf.
Yes.
That's the last thing I would have expected from the genre of surf music.
Well, because a lot of it was coming out of Southern California too, where people were surfing in the U.S. And that's also, I think at least, why a lot of surf rock uses these minor scales that sound influenced by Mexican music.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's
so,
a good point. Yeah.
I also identify as being influenced by Mexican music, and
absolutely
surf rock definitely I think owes a lot to the trumpets.
Yeah.
And Albert in there.
I never considered that aspect to it, but you're right. Yeah, we should actually cover Herb Alpert. We haven't covered any Herb Alpert on the podcast.
Let's figure a couple albums of that.
Yeah, I mean it's mostly instrumental, which is why I haven't thought of them necessarily. But
we did the Adventures at one time.
We have done instrumental, so we can do that.
Not heavy on the lyrics.
I never thought about that in reference to surf music, though. The influence of Mexican and Hispanic culture to the music. That's a good point too.
Yeah, Southern California.
Yeah. That's part of the reason SoCal is important. It's a melding of things.
It's not the cows, it's the surf guitar.
It's the surf guitar. It's not the cows. Yeah. If it was just the cows, we'd have it here in Wisconsin too.
Maybe the cows really dig surf
guitar. We have
guitar.
A coast. We have a coast too.
Polka.
It just doesn't.
We got polka.
We have polka. Yeah, it's true. And our coast doesn't really have big waves like that. So, it's a little different.
It's like a river.
Yeah, it's kind of like a big river.
I don't know. I was at Mount Olympus, and there's a wave pool that makes 9 feet. Waves. And
I love me some wave pool, man.
Crazy.
Oh yeah. I'm always, the second I get in front of a wave pool, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stay here for like an hour, because like I'm like just tall enough where I can like jump and like never like go under the water. I can just jump every wave. You
could jump through 9 feet of wave.
Well, because like you get the boost from the wave pool.
Brad is 12 feet tall.
I'm about 12 feet.
It doesn't look like that in the camera.
You can't really tell. It's mostly
go to
legs.
Mount Olympus.
Yeah,
you can test this.
Just walk through the wave pool.
Walk through the wave pool. Hold on, get out of my way.
I'm like 80% legs.
Right. I'm like those the adults in the Peanuts cartoons. I'm only the bottom half of my body.
The adults in Cow and Chicken.
Yeah. Oh, have you surfed though? I was going to ask, James. Have you?
I've surfed twice and I almost died both times.
Oh wow, both times. Well, maybe
I liked it and it's cool. I like the culture of it, but yeah, I don't know.
Perhaps that influenced the wrecking at sea thing. I don't know.
Yeah, the ocean is mighty. I definitely learned very quickly to respect the ocean.
Yeah,
the first time I was pulled by a riptide almost into a jetty of rocks, but then at the last second kind of pulled around into a calm area. Yeah. And then the second time I was in Mexico and ended up having to bargain for a taxi to take us to the hospital so I can get stitches in the top of my head.
Oh my God!
So I'll probably never surf again, but I do like surf.
Yeah. You like You like the culture, though.
The theory.
Yeah, it's surfing in theory. Yeah.
I'll play the music. Other people people can ride the waves.
Yeah. I'll supply the guitar.
Yeah. But we have one more track for you guys though of this album, and the last track is called Luminescence. Here we go.
Yes, I need what does creating and just
Yeah. It's the and then there's a little jam, I think, at the very, very end, right? It goes back into a little bit of a jam.
Yeah, song goes to a lot of places. This is like definitely. I think about it as, I don't know. This is kind of a mix of a lot of influences, including like classic rock and prog rock. With like there's tempo changes in a few points, and starts out with this like cool, like in temperature, cool and ethereal section. That's I think of it as being mostly influenced by Radiohead, and then there's parts that are influenced by the Mars Volta to me, and then classic rock. So it goes to a lot of places.
Which is a great way to kind of like finish this all off.
It's the culmination of a bunch of stuff.
And like you said, you made it in chronological order too. So like, that makes sense
too. Kind of builds up
the
whole album to the last track.
Yeah, definitely. And
definitely. I wrote at least the words for this last, and a lot of it's really about the creative process itself.
Yeah,
and trying to actually. Well, I've always really enjoyed thinking about imagination and curiosity. So a lot of the lyrics are inspired by Miyazaki films and things that Miyazaki says in interviews.
Yeah. That's good shit.
And, it's a lot of why I do music and why, why I find music to be a spiritual thing to do, listening or making.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's also, the song is about just like, okay, I need to finish this album. This has been 12 years and I need to actually put this thing out in the world. And so a lot of it's kind of meta in a sense, like taking everything that happened before and moving forward with it, doing something with it, living with it, and kind of trying to find the courage to call it done
and let the world hear it at that point. Because once you're like done with an album, it's out, it's like locked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's, maybe if you're like a Pink Floyd, you get like a remaster in 30 years, or whatever, but like, generally it's pretty locked once it's out there. So you really have to have everything
popped off.
Place where it needs to be.
And otherwise, there's a bunch of little hints I think of earlier parts in the album, and I think about it as like I think of a jellyfish slowly moving underwater with like a black background, or slowly sinking, but in a more serene way than before, back into the ocean.
Being more one with it than an opposing force, which like fire would be. It's kind of a different force of nature than water.
Perfect.
A great place to end it. And I love that I love the line, the truest form of expression following a whim, and the child who lies within. Because especially when it comes to like I guess trauma and therapy and that kind of thing, it always comes down to finding out what your kind of inner child needs to kind of deal with or expound upon. So I think it's a great kind of thing to mention in the last track of this kind of emotional journey that the hero has taken.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah,
it's honestly super fun hearing someone's analysis of
what
they make of the lyrics.
This is the best. Like when I can actually confirm or deny some of my suspicions or whatever. It's so good. But yeah, I mean that's been the album. Though we have one more segment we get through before we get out of the podcast, and that is going around and finding out what everyone has been listening to and what they have to plug. And I'm going to go in the same order as what is Dave drinking. So I'll start, and then we will go to Dave, Jake, and then James. And what I've been listening to lately, shit, I'm gonna be honest, it's been a lot of the Fire Whale the last couple of days. But I will mention, I'll just plug a few bands that we've had on previously that are also kind of indie artists. Spiral Cell is an episode we did. His album was really, really amazing. Grant Summerland came on a long time ago. He was our first musical guest on the podcast, and his album was great. Inspector 34 has been on the podcast plenty of times, so you guys probably know plenty about them. And then Mommyheads. Those are all of the bands that we have had on the podcast to talk about music. And you definitely owe yourself to go back and check out those episodes.
And you talked about your album.
Oh, and I did. Yeah, that's right. I did talk about my album with my old bands.
You have an album?
My old pop punk. I was in a pop punk band for 6 years, and I had an old bandmate come on, as well as our one of our roadies, and we just reminisced about old times and talked about the different tracks we recorded. But it was a fun time. It was a fun time. Definitely go back and check out those episodes though. Each of those bands' personal albums are really, really great. I had them on the podcast because I loved them. So go check out those episodes, and that's what I'll plug and stuff too. So Dave, what do you listen to lately, and what do you got to plug?
All right, so this last week, some weird things kind of came in the mix. A lot of REM kind of popped up for this last week.
Yeah,
not sure why, but just paused and just kind of
weird.
I just fuck it.
I'm listening to a podcast about REM right now, so that's very strange.
I'm just here buckling. I'm just going to just go down this hole.
Yeah, I don't even listen to REM either. By the way, it's another U2 situation.
So I think last week I mentioned listening to some Atmosphere. So I listened to the sort of collaboration project between Atmosphere and Murs called Felt. So I found some old Felt, listened to some of their albums.
Yeah.
And also a lot of Dessa, another Minneapolis from Doomtree Collective. English major, or I believe also I think she teaches English writing.
Okay.
And at the University of Minnesota, but she has a lot of albums out, and just kind of got to. I just want some Dessa again.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah.
So I think that was everything. Oh, also Funkadelic Mega Brain that kind of this week kind of dripped in there. So
yeah,
it has some funky music.
Yeah. Nice. And what about you, Jake? What have you been listening to? What do you got to plug?
I turned that off because the cat's meowing really loud.
That's fine, Jake.
I haven't had a chance to put the radio show together this week, but last week's show, which is going to show up on the podcast page in a little while, I'm really behind. Under the covers with Jake the Snake Foster. We got Boz Skaggs, Les Paul, Steve Miller as a little kid, because Steve Miller was Les Paul's godchild.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Also the Joker.
And the Joker. And the Midnight Smoker.
Howlin' Wolf, Judy Garland, the Shirelles, Carole King, ZZ Top.
Ooh.
Boston, Junior Brown, Junior Walker.
Good list this week.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
Yeah.
So, all that stuff under the covers. Jake the Snake Foster on 91.7 WSUM and 92.5 WISY and on Spotify, as well as wherever you can find podcasts. I have the Voice Breaks edition of the show as well. So
sometimes on the lake,
sometimes on the
lake.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
DJ Jake the Snake Foster, Jake the Snake on the lake. Yep.
Yeah. Nice.
That's about it, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. What about you, James? What are you listening to lately?
Oh, quickly.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
I've been looking at the merch page on your page. So this is plugging you.
Okay.
And so this will lead you can talk about this some more, but your merch page is awesome. So
cool.
Really cool.
You might be the first person who's found it.
Really? I will definitely I will definitely be getting at least a thing on here. I think this is awesome.
You have a lot of items.
It's a small operation too. So if you have an idea for something you want to see, like if you want basically what's on there but with the album art or something, let me know and I can make it happen. So let me know if you want kind of a customized thing.
Ooh, it's crunchy. I might grab
there's
scrunchies.
There's some shirts and hats and posters and phone cases and stuff like that.
Nice.
But I guess to first say what I've been listening to, I think it's no secret. That would be King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to anything except them in like months at this point. And there's if I had to pick one band to listen to for the rest of my life, they just do every genre. So there's no getting old.
Yeah, the whole like 2 weeks, 2 weeks leading up to the Omnium Gatherum episode, and then like the week following, it was like all King Gizzard all the time.
Yeah,
I was just like, oh my god, I forgot how much I love all of this.
I've listened to basically every single song. Definitely listened to every single song, but I can't get it out of my head, so I keep returning, especially to Nonagon Infinity and the Microtonal.
Nonagon Infinity opens the door, Like,
oh my god,
it really does. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess for what I would say is I'd be super happy if people connect with me. I think that the best way to reach me would be Instagram. Fire Whale Music.
Yeah.
On Instagram, as well as all social platforms. I'm on all of them, but I'm most present on Instagram. If you follow me, I'll follow you back. And if you have any questions about anything you've heard or any questions about whatever, I'm happy to chat with anybody.
Yeah.
Following.
Yeah. Come over and connect. But I'm also on.
We have an Instagram too. I don't know if we ever say that, but we Flyover State Park has an Instagram as well. That's how we talk to each other.
Nice. I'm on Bandcamp, and I have a website too that both have email lists if you want to hear about future releases and such.
And remember Bandcamp Fridays? There's was it the first Friday of every month or the last?
I forget.
It's one of those two. There's a specific Friday every month that if you buy an album on that day, it is better for the artist. So,
but basically Bandcamp doesn't take any proceeds in that case.
Yeah.
My album is currently super cheap on there. Have at it. But honestly, more than merch, if you just listen to the album start to finish, like we've been talking about, I will be super happy. If you do that and let me know, I'll be even happier. And I guess one thing I would say though is for streaming, a lot of websites don't give you the gapless experience unless you download for offline listening.
Oh, okay.
So like when I listen to King Gizzard, for example, I always download the album. Maybe delete it from the phone later, but at least while listening. That will ensure that it's, the experience as the artist intended it.
Definitely. And on Spotify, let's get those listens up past 1,000 for like every track, guys. Some people are being selective about this album. You got to listen to the whole thing. There's a little ways to go. Yeah, no. Every time we do one of these, like we go and we see all the plays on Spotify, and it's like, God damn it, everyone's listening to just the singles on this one. Come on,
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
it's like there's a lot of good stuff in here, guys.
Yeah, especially for a concept album made to be listened to start to finish. Yeah. Honestly, if a few people listen to it several times, like in order, I'll be happy to. But I also have some music videos.
That's right.
I've put quite a bit of effort into music videos. So there's at least 4 that are or 5 at this point on YouTube. The music video for track 1 is just, to me, is still mind blowing. It was made by this guy who was he's a dive master and was interested in kind of experimenting with underwater footage. And it is just so cool. It is way beyond anything I ever dreamed of. So It Goes also has a fun video. That one actually has me in it. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be at least one more music video coming out in the near future. So find me on YouTube is the best place there.
Yeah. So subscribe on YouTube. Check him out on Instagram, and definitely
say hi.
Find this album. Say hi. Yeah, he's on the Discord too. If you want to say hi on the Discord, he's in there now. You can also find his Desert Island 5 if you join the Discord. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast though, and reaching out to us and stuff. This was
thanks for the opportunity. It's super fun to chat with you guys.
Yeah, really great album to just happen upon on the internet. You know what I mean? It was a really welcome discovery. So
awesome.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening to the podcast for another week. Next week we're having on Ron Wasserman, who wrote the Power Rangers theme. So look forward to that next week. We're going to be covering the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers album, a rock story or something.
Wait, do you mean like the 80s or like early 90s version?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about.
I used to dress up as a Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, man. This is going to be, we're going to geek out so hard next episode. Join us for that. It's going to be insane. I can't believe he actually responded and said he'd be on. So it's going to be a great time. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week.
The Album Concept Hour is Brad LeBaron, Dave Gallagher, John Aker, and Jake the Snake Foster. Special thanks to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard for the theme music. Join the discussion on our Discord, tweet to us at Album Concept Pod, or for everything else, go to Linktree/Flyover State Park. See you on Side B. This is Flyover State Park. You are clear to land.